So over the years here at Location Rebel, I've done a lot of ambitious things. I left my job, I moved to Thailand, I've been trying to conquer my bucket list, but probably the most ambitious thing I've ever done was film a short video called The Desk. We wanted to prove that you really could work from anywhere. So we took a giant desk and, well, we went everywhere. And this is the making of that video.
This is Abigail, and this is her story. From her humble beginnings in a cardboard box in an Office Depot warehouse, to her harrowing journey across the wilds of Oregon, to her tragic and untimely death in a shower of splinters and fiery embers at the hands of a sniper with a high-powered rifle, a bag of gasoline, and a brick of tannerite.
Scene one, shot one, take one.
That's all we're gonna need. One take. Location Rebel, on location, in the middle of a big snowy meadow. Feeling pretty solid. We got real wood right here. None of that fake crap. This thing is real, it's sturdy. I was told we didn't have to glue it together yet. We'll see how she does after the 2-mile trek back out to the car.
Have you named her yet?
Of course I have. Her name's Abigail. We call her Abby for short. The first location was one of the ones from the beginning. This is the one we envisioned when we thought of the desk. And that's a desk in the middle of a snow-covered meadow with mountains in the background. We had no idea how we were actually gonna get this, but we decided to drive around Bend in Central Oregon and see what we come up with. So what most people don't realize was the original concept for the opening sequence was gonna be my assistant Jamie delivering me a cup of coffee by literally going over the river, through the woods, through town to end up in this snow-covered office. And what we realized that after we shot it, it was something that just took too much time to get into, and we realized that people have a short attention span and it wasn't really adding a whole lot to the film. Day one of the desk is almost in the books, and tomorrow we're gonna be in a completely different landscape. So if there's one scene that I think was actually one of the coolest and kind of the hardest to shoot that probably got underplayed a little bit in the final cut, it was the one on top of the waterfall. So that was Coosa Falls on the Mackenzie River, and this was legitimately precarious.
I'm gonna break a few rules and we're gonna take Abby out over the falls. I don't have a good feeling about this. It would just look best with your back facing that way.
All of a day's work, just a desk on a waterfall.
So what's your plan for getting it up there?
Well, you grab it, put it out there.
We're carrying this thing down a trail, over the safety rail, up onto a rock, balancing it on like 3 legs, and I'm sitting up there for like 15 minutes while we try and get the long shot from across the river. And I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of scary.
You guys stuck me out on over the edge with a desk that was like on one leg teetering over the edge. That's like a solid 120-foot vertical drop with raging white water. The fall would have totally killed me, and it probably would have been quick and painless. Mom, I'm totally exaggerating. I'm amazed this thing is still standing from doing stupid shit like this. You know, Jamie did have a little bit of a minor panic attack today when I was out on the ledge. So we,
Panic attack.
Hey, I said minor. So if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do.
So we really wanted a location that felt like it was totally in the middle of nowhere. Since there are a ton of great sand dunes on the Oregon coast, we started a search for something that felt like it might be, you know, in the middle of the Sahara Desert or something. We ruled out a bunch of locations based on the fact that, well, we really didn't feel like hauling a desk up and down some pretty seriously steep and fairly remote sand dunes.
Rolling.
From the top, nice and slow, stanza breaks. Sound good? All right,
Action.
My name's Sean Ogle, and I'm completely lost.
That's not really very funny.
Little Sandy. My name's Sean Ogle, and a few years back, my life kind of sucked. So I left my job, I started traveling, and I built a business I could run from anywhere. And now, I help you do the same thing. It's getting a little windy out here, but we're gonna need four supermodels instead of 2. Does that work for you? Yeah, I think it's gonna look better that way. Yeah, no, I'll totally be there. I have a good feeling about it. I think it's gonna all work out. And also, I'm gonna need a new assistant. Yeah, like quick. The best part about the desert location is that it's actually just 200 yards behind a Fred Meyer parking lot. So we pulled the car right up, we got everything out there in 15 minutes, and away we went. Sometimes you get lucky.
We're sitting out here in the middle of the forest, and while this shot may look relatively simple with a desk and a chair, it's actually much more precarious than you think. I promise you that. Take a look at what we're working with here. We've got, the desk just piled on whatever we could find here to try and make this work. And I feel like I could fall at any moment because the chair is in a very similar position. We need a bigger budget for this stuff.
So actually one of my favorite locations is the one that we almost didn't get. So after we did the desert shot, we were driving down the Oregon coast and we went to a place called Cape Perpetua, thinking we might be able to get some cool sunset photos or something. Well, it turns out there was a perfect spot right off the parking lot to set up the desk. And even though the gear was a little scattered all over the place from the earlier shoot, we were able to basically dump it all out, shoot a couple quick takes, and in my opinion, I think it's one of the coolest shots that we got of the whole trip. And it actually formed a lot of the branding for Location Rebel, the website, over the course of the last couple of years, which was something that I never really expected. And because if you know me, you know that I love golf. We couldn't do a desk video without finding a golf course. And so this was shot at Pronghorn Golf Club in Bend, Oregon. One second. That is how you hit a golf ball.
You all can't see it, but it's way up there.
Way up there. In step number 1, we have detailed blue. Cheers. Cheers.
I messed that one up a bit. Just one more.
So even when we started filming this, we still didn't exactly know how the end was going to turn out. We knew we had to have something dramatic for the big conclusion, and we kept saying, wouldn't it be cool if we could blow up a desk? But we didn't really know if we could actually blow up a desk. So in talking to my buddy Caleb, who's much more pyrotechnically inclined than I am, he decided that the best way to actually accomplish this was to use what's called tannerite. So tannerite is what's used for exploding targets at like a shooting range, but that in and of itself wasn't actually going to create the big fiery explosion that we needed. So in order to do that, along with our tannerite, we added a couple Gatorade bottles of gasoline and a road flare. So here's the thing about tannerite. It's not like you can just like light a fuse and set it off and let it explode. It's a very stable compound, so it needs a really, really large force to hit it. So even if you were to shoot it with a handgun, that's not enough. It has to be a gunshot from a rifle on a bullet that's going at least 2,000 feet a second to cause this thing to explode. So what we did was we had essentially our sniper with his rifle probably 100 yards up on a hill, and the idea was he was trying to shoot the tannerite, which will then cause an explosion with the road flare, with the gasoline, and cause everything to blow up. great idea in theory, but it ended up taking over a dozen shots to actually get a hit. His scope was a little bit off, so we sat there one shot after another, just wondering if this thing was gonna actually explode. And then he made some adjustments, he went back up, and on the first hit, he actually, rather than hitting the tannerite, he hit the bottle of gasoline, which caused the desk to basically erupt in fire, but not explode. So at this point, we were kind of screwed. Like, we had to essentially hit this on the next shot. Otherwise, the fire was just gonna burn the desk and we weren't gonna get our big explosion. We didn't have like a second chance at this. Luckily, 2 seconds later, he fired again, hit the tannerite. We got this massive explosion. And honestly, I think it turned out way better than any of us could have ever expected it to turn out. The one thing we had to decide in post was, the desk, catching on fire in and of itself was kind of cool. So we were like, okay, do we have a 2-step explosion where it catches on fire and then surprises people by blowing up? Or do we edit it so that it just looks like it blows up on its own? And in the end, we decided to go with the latter, but it's kind of cool to see in the footage here what actually happened. The desk is probably my favorite. Over the years, to have people come up to me all the time, to this day, telling me how much they enjoyed the video, really means a lot and really, proves that all the time and effort we put into it was worthwhile. Not to mention, I got to take a sweet road trip all over the state with my buddy Jamie and my dad, and that's something I'm never gonna forget. Really, the only question left to ask is, what do we have in store for the desk version 2.0? I'm not entirely sure what the answer is, but I can guarantee you it's going to be something you've never seen before.